Hello and welcome back to Season 6 of Mysteries of Science. My name's Dan and I'm the editor of Science and Nature, the monthly magazine from the team behind The Week Junior.
And I'm Michael, the features editor. On this podcast, we explore the strange phenomena and bizarre events that have left scientists scratching their heads and, despite their best efforts, remain well and truly unsolved.
As this is the first episode, Michael, I think we better get off to a pretty speedy start. So let's race out of the traps.
Yes, to mark the release of the new Flash movie, we've put our running shoes on to try and find out just how fast humans can run.
That's right. We're going to ask in this podcast episode, do humans have a natural speed limit? And we're going to find out if you could ever run as fast as the Flash. Now, I don't mean you, Michael. Could you, the listeners, run as fast as the Flash? So let's find out if you can keep up with this, that is.
Hey Dan, race you to the finish line.
Yeah, okay. 3, 2, 1, go!
This is Mysteries of Science.
Woo! Wow, you're quicker than I thought you were, Michael.
Oh, I think I've got a stitch now.
While we catch our breaths, why don't we get somebody else to tell us all about the Flash?
Okay, hi. I'm Jim Kekelius, mild-mannered physics professor at the University of Minnesota, a great metropolitan university. And in addition to doing research in semiconductor and nanostructured materials and neuroscience, studying voltage fluctuations, I am a lifelong comic book fan and am the author of The Physics of Superheroes.
Hi Jim, welcome to the show. So, could you tell us who the Flash is and how he got his powers?
The Flash, Barry Allen, was struck by lightning and simultaneously doused with a strange array of chemicals. And rather than dying or suffering permanent neurological damage, he gained the ability to run at super speed.
Now, Jim is a big fan of The Flash. In fact, he's his favorite superhero.
You know, when I was a kid, I was kind of like, short and skinny. And The Flash at the time was also kind of skinny. His characters have really bulked up recently, but when I read them when I was younger, he was a runner. He was fast. And it was like a simple, elegant power. You understood it. You understood its limitations. You understood its advantages. And he was always using his powers in creative and ingenious ways to defeat Captain Cold and the Mirror Master. And so I've always just had a fondness for him. And now, as an adult, whenever I'm stuck in rush hour traffic, or my flight has been delayed, or I have 100 things to do in a day and time for 3, I really wish that I had super speed.
Yeah, completely sympathise with you there, Jim. Well, we know how you would use the Flash's powers if you had them then.
Well, let's say I would use them for good, not evil. Yeah, let's go with that.
So, Jim, tell us, just how fast is the Flash?
Basically, the Flash is as fast as the comic book or movie requires him to be. If he needs to be able to run fast enough to run across the ocean, then he can do that. If he needs to be faster than that, then he can do that. It takes more and more effort to run faster and faster, but he could, in principle, he has in the comics, and I believe in the upcoming Flash movie, will be running faster than the speed of light, which physics has all sorts of problems with, but as a comic book fan, I'm good with it.
Right, okay, faster than the speed of light. I think we need to do a bit of quick research there, Michael, and find out just how fast that is exactly.
So, speed of light is around 700 million miles per hour.
700 million miles an hour. Yeah, that's pretty fast, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's definitely faster than you or I could run.
Sure is. Yeah, and there might be some, as Jim pointed out, there could be some problems with running that fast. I'm wondering what would happen to a person if they could run that fast. I mean, it may break the laws of physics or something. And presumably, if you were going to run, if you were that speedy, it would have some sort of effect on your body.
That's right. And according to Jim, there's lots of other powers the Flash would need to have in order to survive running at such super speeds.
One of them is you have to have super resistance to air resistance, super to air drag. When I was a kid, I bought this issue of the Flash, and he had lost, for reasons, his ability. He could still run at super speed, but he lost his resistance to air drag. So if he ran too fast, he started to burn up. And back in the 60s, there was the space race. They were talking about, satellites coming back in, or meteors, burning up in the atmosphere. And I was as a kid, I was embarrassed that never occurred to me. That, oh yeah, just being able to run fast is not enough. You have to be able to avoid the air resistance.
Yeah, totally. So shooting stars are bits of space rocks that come blazing in from space, and they all burn up because of the air resistance when they hit Earth's atmosphere. So, yeah, I hadn't thought of that either. Resistance to air drag. You need extra superpowers just for your running superpower. Is there anything else you'd need?
You have to avoid what's called contact electrification. When your foot is pressing against the ground, the atoms in your shoe are rubbing against the atoms in the ground, and very often a small amount of electrical charge is transferred to you. And we notice this sometimes. You're walking across the carpet and you go to touch, and you don't notice that you're charged up, but then when you go to touch the doorknob, you suddenly get a shock, because now the charges that are built up on you can go to ground by jumping from your body to the metal of the doorknob. The Flash should have this tremendous amount of charge built up on him, and moving charges are an electrical current that create magnetic fields. And so he should also be dragging down any metal that's not nailed down, any magnetic metal at least, behind him. And when he stops, suddenly it should all be pounding into him. And so, there's a lot of things that you'd have to, the list just goes on and on.
Okay, so it sounds like there are some very good reasons why we might not be able to run as fast as the Flash, but I wonder just how fast we could run. What is the human speed limit?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Michael. So, the fastest person on Earth currently is Usain Bolt, and in 2009, he broke the world speed record for the 100-meter sprint, and he sort of completed that in just 9.58 seconds. So that's like an average speed of 23 miles an hour across the whole race, and I think his top speed was something like 27 miles an hour, so nearly 30 miles an hour. It's pretty fast. But it might sound slow, obviously, compared to the speed of light, but it's faster than, say, cars driving past your school.
So what makes Usain Bolt so fast? And is there a way someone could run even faster than him?
Well, I guess that one way to find out is to speak to a running coach.
Hi, my name's Jo Wilkinson. I'm currently a British Athletics running coach. I'm also a former elite runner and competed over distances from 800 metres as a young person all the way up to the marathon, and came in the top 20 of the London Marathon.
Hi Jo. So Jo offers elite running coaching on her site runningjo.co.uk. So just how fast are you?
I started running at school, like lots of young people do, on sports day, seemed to be quite good at the 800 metres. Funny enough, was never very good at sprinting at all. So thought for a long time I wasn't a good runner because I couldn't run really fast. But what I was good at was running faster over a longer distance. So joined my local athletics club, ran all the way through my school days, up to finishing when I was 16, ranked third in the country for 800 metres. Then I came back into the sport as a senior athlete in my mid-20s and was very fortunate to be coached by an amazing couple called Alec and Rosemary Stanton, who also coached Paula Radcliffe, who for a long time was the women's world record holder for the marathon and competed at a number of international events. So I was very fortunate to go to the Commonwealth Games in Manchester in 2002, running the 10,000 metres. I ran the elite race of the London Marathon several times and went to the European Championships and was part of the team that won a bronze medal at the European Champs in the marathon as well.
Goodness me, that's really impressive, Joe. And I'm interested as well about what you were saying about how some people could be slow over short distances and faster over long distances and vice versa. I mean, I think I was sort of slow over short distances and yeah, actually slow over long distances as well. But anyway, why is that?
In our muscles, we have essentially two types of fibres, fast twitch and slow twitch. And we all have a mixture of both, but we have different proportions. So those sprinters would tend to have much more fast twitch fibres, and someone like myself that runs long distances tends to have a greater proportion of slow twitch fibres. And the fast twitch fibres can contract very quickly and very powerfully, but they can't do it for very long. They get too fatigued. Whereas the slow twitch fibres, again, they don't generate quite as much power, therefore you don't generate quite as much speed, but they can go on potentially for hours and hours.
So does that mean that Usain Bolt would be rubbish at marathons then?
So there's always been a really big debate. Two of the more recent absolute world-class performers we had were Usain Bolt, who the men's world record holder for 100 metres, and Mo Farah, who obviously won quite a few Olympic gold medals for Britain over 5 and 10,000 metres. And there was always a debate about where would they meet in the middle? What distance would one beat the other? How far could one step up? How far could Usain Bolt run before he really couldn't run very fast? And how quickly could Mo Farah run over a short distance? And that's something that athletics people like to debate for hours on end.
Yes, I love this idea. Usain Bolt versus Mo Farah. Now that's a race I'd definitely like to see. So go on, Joe. Tell us now, over what distance do you reckon that they would be evenly matched? What distance do you think they'd be neck and neck battling it out?
So somewhere between that 400 to 800 metres, I would say, is probably where they would cross over.
Okay, maybe we can organise a 400 to 800 metres race. Usain, Mo, if you guys are listening, get in touch.
If those guys or any of you want to get in touch, then please do send us a voice note at funkidslive.com/mysteries. We'd love to hear your questions and theories and suggestions and get your thoughts on the podcast. And you can just go to the Fun Kids Live website and hit the big red button, and it's so simple to leave us a voice note.
Right, so what have we learned so far? We've learned how fast the Flash is, but why he'd need a whole host of extra powers to actually survive running that fast.
And we've learned how fast humans can run and how some people might be quicker over long distances whilst other people are speedier over short distances.
When Joe was telling us about the different fibres that people have in our muscles, it got me thinking that maybe this idea of a human speed limit is the wrong way of looking at things.
Ooh, how so?
Well, I wonder whether there isn't one universal human speed limit for everyone, but rather different speed limits for each individual person.
Okay, well, it's funny you say that, Michael, because there's some new research that I've read recently that's found that all humans have a natural speed limit when they run, and that natural speed limit is determined by what's most energy efficient for each individual, for them. So that means what kind of speed uses the least amount of energy. Well, rather than me trying to explain it badly, let's go and meet one of the study's authors who can explain it much better.
So, hello, my name is Jennifer Hicks. I am a scientist at Stanford University. And for a long time, I've been really interested in how humans move and how to help all humans move in the best way that they can, and how we can use math and biology and computer science to understand how humans move.
Hi, Jennifer. So how did you and your colleagues make this discovery?
We used data from a wearable device that runners were using, everyday recreational runners out in the world just performing their training runs, to see how do people run when they're just training out in the world. And what we found was pretty amazing, is that this big group of people, no one was telling them how fast to run or how far to go. They were running at that most energy optimal speed, whether they were running 2 miles or 6 miles. It was really consistent that people were honing in on that energy optimal speed.
Crikey. So, wow, if our bodies naturally want us to run at this most energy efficient speed, then I mean, what ways can we actually push ourselves past that and go faster?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There's different ways that you can do that. If you did want to run faster, if you're just going out for a jog, some things that you can do are run with a friend. Sometimes that competition or having someone that you're running with is one way that you can run faster. Another thing you can do is listen to music. So if you want to increase your speed, if you take faster steps in the same amount of time, most people will start to run faster. So if you're listening and running to the beat of the music, and the beat of the music is faster, that can help you run faster as well.
So that's why people on a run always have their headphones in.
Yeah, but I reckon they're all listening to our podcast, aren't they?
Well, when I hear your voice, it makes me want to run away, so maybe. But however fast you run, any type of movement is good for you. It doesn't even have to be running at all.
Different people have different energy optimal speeds. Some people are not, comfortable running. They'd rather walk or ride a bike. And I think all of those types of movement are incredibly beneficial to our health and our well-being. And so I think movement is great in whatever shape or form or speed that it takes.
Right, the time has come. I think it's time for us to dust down our trusty old mysteryometer. Haul it out for the first time in season 6. This is a scale from 0 to 100, with 0 being we know nothing about this mystery, and 100 being that it's solved, the case is closed. So, Jennifer, on a scale of 1 to 100, or 0 to 100 even, how much do we know about how fast humans can run?
So I would say we're at around a 60, because there's still all of these really exciting questions to explore, combining biology, computer science, and math that we're still looking at in the lab.
60, yeah. That does mean that there's still quite a lot more to discover, I think. And there's more we can learn from the Flash as well, more than just how fast we can run.
In the comic books in the 1950s and 1960s, when he first appeared, the Flash was just a nice guy who wanted to help other people, and there just was never enough time. And now he can run at super speed. And so there's always enough time to help others. And that's the thing that I find attractive about comic books in one sense, because we all have special gifts and special powers. There are all things that we can do and our own interests and skills. Do we use them selfishly just for our own personal benefit, which is kind of more the realm of supervillains? Or do you use them to help other people and to make yourself better and to make the world better? We all know from science fiction stories about people going back into the past, making some small change, leading to large changes in the present. But I would say to your listeners, the reverse is also true. A small change in the present can have large changes in the future. And so a small positive thing that you do can have a large impact going forward. And so we all have our skills, we all have our abilities, and we must use them for good, because the forces of evil are always waiting.
Well said, Jim. It's time to put on my cape and go fight the forces of evil.
Wow, go for it, Michael. Just, remember to take a hat just in case it gets cold and a spare pair of underpants.
Will do. We're going to save the world, Dan, one podcast at a time.
Yeah, let's do it. Talking of which, don't forget to join us again in 2 weeks' time for another episode of Mysteries of Science, where we're going to be looking at the skies and space and trying to find out the truth behind the unidentified flying objects, or as you might know them, UFOs. Could they really be visitors from another planet? Until then, stay curious.